Hello, 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 all my Aquariuses. This is, yeah, I'm kind of really late getting it out this month. It's kind of more like a mid-month, but I'm going to kind of give you some energy about, what you've also been feeling up until now, and then we're going to look into next month. I normally call these the homework family readings, but spirits kind of told me to change it to home light security. And it's more like just checking in with what's going on with the energy in general. Are you on point? Are you missing the point? Where is things and do you need to tweak it more or less? This is why they told me to rename it that. So this is for the month of March, for the mid month, and as you begin next month. Now, for anybody who's never seen the videos, I always tell everybody check right there below because they're not just, sun, moon, and rising videos for Aquarius. There's a little bit more to it. And if you're following that idea, it tells you whether you want to be really paying attention to your sun sign, your moon, or your rising sign as to what you might get the most out of for these readings because you might be more in your emotional sense than you are in your core energy. Just in general, I like to throw that out there. Now, Aquarius, I'm getting, there's a whole lot of restructuring of your security, like inner security. It's kind of being shifting, it is the way I'm getting it. It's you're working out some stubborn issues, some pride issues, some fear issues within your own spiritual growth, within your own spirituality, and your communication with your higher connections, so to speak. Um, you're dealing with areas that might be uncomfortable, and there's some fear of failure there. And it's just really talking to you about, stepping out of your comfort zone, stepping into a more creative space and allowing the flow to come, finding out parts of you that is hiding, that you're still hiding from yourself, and issues that you may have on personal levels, I'm being told, with some relationship grief as well as personal or family judgment. I'm being told definitely sacral chakra energy, whether it's, I always explain sacral chakra as it's not just about sex and it's not just about the relationships. It's also the relationship you have with yourself and how you feel about yourself, your own self value, self esteem, your own courage, your own gumph is what I feel like I'm hearing. Feeling good about yourself. I always call it the inner belly dancer. The inner belly dancer is who fuels the inner warrior, which would give you the courage. Okay. And I always say the inner belly dancer could be the most biggest, hugest sumo wrestler person or the thinnest anorexic looking person, but if they feel good with who they are and they are healthy with who they are, then that is where you start beginning to believe in yourself. And this is about looking at yourself and how you're feeling about your own inner creativity and finding security in it is what I'm getting a lot from spirit. Was there anything else? They're giving me self-expression, truth. So it's also going to be throat chakra. And there is some inner communication of that supernatural highway that I'm always talking about between the heart and the head that, is getting hold of, well, I coulda, shoulda, woulda, holding on to some bitterness and blame and fear of, well, if I did it that way, or if I should have done that, or could have done this. No, this is you're stretching it into way too many things is what they're giving me. There is slow down, go inward, allow your spirit to deepen, and then start to figure out what parts of you you're afraid of so that you can eliminate that, more or less. You have in the astrology, you have a ton of energy. It just moved out of Capricorn, and it's not just, but it had moved out of Capricorn, and it's mainly in your first house now. So this is going from your 12th house and into your actual character and starting to come into new levels of identification for you. So I mean, it only makes sense that so many of you may be going through a very, not an identity crisis, but an identity shift, an identity maturity in some levels. Hold on a second. I want to sip of my drink, and then I'm going to grab some cards, and then I'll get into the astrology. What they're saying on the things that you do feel you're being given from your spiritual guides, when you're able to hear that and you're able to have that communication, it is definitely time to take action. Trust your intuition, your truth, and go with that. Now, so I had to grab them. Come out. I have like 10 different decks down there on the floor so that I can decide which ones I want to use, because I don't have a desk directly in front of me. I'm not taking like 9 cards. No. Okay, what does Aquarius need to hear? Still, not taking like 9 cards. I think my cuff's getting in the way. Hold up. Let me flip my cuffs up. Because I think they're sending things out. What does Aquarius need to hear? No, we're not doing that. I'm not doing like 9 cards. Thank you. Yeah, this is kind of what I was just talking about. Inner conflict. It speaks to us of our will to power, our hostility versus our jealousy, our stubbornness versus our aggression, fear and competitiveness. You're coming into power and taking a risk by coming into that power. It is shifting creative authority versus danger and emotional conflict. So it's a growth spurt, more or less. It's a growth spurt of where you're going from one position to another. And like I said, it's a little bit of an identity crisis, but it's not, because it's all taking place inside of you. It's just, are you fighting, realizing who you've become and where you're going? I can't make this stuff up. Keeping still. Take some time for inward meditation, self-renewal, composure, detachment, self-acceptance, serenity. It is technically the limit. How far will you go inwardly, not outwardly, for your own growth here? Like I said, you have a time. The cauldron comes out. It is inner alchemy, mastery of yourself, spiritual renewal, containing rejuvenation. It is the radiant, which is also the penetrating energy. Now, let me see what this other deck was saying. See, this is it's like a spiritual rebirth. I mean, and you did just have your birthday not too long ago, or possibly even, yeah. I mean, you're in your second house, but for some of you, the later that your birthday is, you're still technically in your first a little bit, because wherever the sun is in an astrology chart is technically the house that you were walking through. And I'll get into that a little bit more when I get into the astrology itself. What does Aquarius need to hear that they have not already heard? Follow through with your talents is what they just said, and trust your spiritual skills. This is called crossing over. And I always say it, I mean, it's ultimately, I deal with I deal with Grimm. You all know that, most of you who follow me. And he takes the dead of where you are. Like when you're a baby, you grow into a child, and he takes the baby away. And when you're a child, you grow into a teenager, and you're no longer the child. And then as you're a teenager, you grow into the maturity. So this is transformation. It is a death may need to cancel counsel in your own higher self. So this is you're no longer who you were. Stop trying to hold on to who you once were, because you're no longer who you were. This is moving into and accepting who you've become. And if you don't like that, what you have to do to change and continue to grow. It's a positive thing. Abundance in all forms. It's the fruit of life, is what that sign is. So I mean, this is a very positive thing, but that doesn't mean that you don't feel awkward and then you're not going through some, shifting changes and have some pride issues and overwhelming things going on. That's what's normal when we go through growth. I mean, so just don't be so hard on yourself. Really, that's what I'm getting from all of this. All right, Aquarius. The sun is going to be in Pisces right up until the 20th. Okay. So you're all in technically your second house. Some of you are coming into your second house, but the sun itself, wherever the sun is what your house is that you are walking through at this time. Now, on a universal scale for Aquariuses, up until the 20th, it has been in the second house. All right. I'm helping you to understand where I'm going with this. Now we're going to back up to your first house. Your first house is right now has Mercury in it. Not Mercury. It has Venus in it. It has Mars in it. It has Vesta in it. It has Uranus in it. And it has Saturn in it. So your very identity of who and what you are, your self-awareness, your personal body, your physical body, your personality, your appearance, your view of life, your image, your identification of who you are, as well as who you think the world thinks you are. And those two rarely ever match. It's shifting because you're growing, you're maturing, you're learning new things about yourself. You're starting to accept and like or discover new things about yourself. The identity of who and what you are is no longer who you once were, like I was saying. And this is showing you areas that you, with Mars and Venus here, need to come into more courageous levels and value levels within that character of who you are. Place that within you because it's part of you. Acknowledge it. Set the boundaries so that, set the boundaries for the outer world, not only to see you the way you want to be seen, but so that you are able to be the person that you have become. And when you need a break, then you need to say, no, I need a break. And when you need to, really hunker down on something, no, I need to not play with you all. It's not that I need a break. I need to actually work on this right now. Your meditation time, your self time versus, are you putting the energy into you? Are you giving you the value and the respect that you deserve? Are you coming with your inner spiritual fire and starting to see who the character is that you've become? And is that still who you want to be, or do you still need to work on shaping that? That's been what's been going on with you a lot lately. But as you move into your second house, the energies that you've actually been working through most of this month, it has Jupiter here. It has Neptune here. It has the sun here. And it also has Mercury here. Mercury is going to be here in that second house for you until the 27th. Not to mention the energies have been off the chain anyway. Plus, you have the equinox coming in with the full moon, which is going to take place in Virgo. Okay. So Mercury also, with it being in the second house with Neptune, Jupiter, the sun, which is ruled by the 12th house, even though it's your second house. That means it's kind of coming in with a little bit of a Mercury retrograde feel, a little inner in your head, a little too much, a little inner communication overdrive in your own mind about how you feel about yourself, how everybody else feels about you, how you're being viewed. And is that true? Is that not? Have you grown? Have you not? Maybe you're being a little too hard on yourself. Like I said, it has a little bit of a Mercury retrograde, but Jupiter is here for the rest of the year. And Neptune ain't moving anytime soon. The only thing that's moving out is the sun illuminating so much of this power that's been, being lit down upon your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem. And are you being valued? Do you feel liberated? Do you feel caged? These are parts of what's been coming out. Do you feel like you're second best? Do you feel like you're the possession of something instead of the possession of your own soul? This is all what I'm looking at. Your inner communication has been in overdrive with Jupiter here, giving it massive abundance, but Jupiter can only feed it positive energy if you feed yourself positive energy. Jupiter will feed it negative if that's what you feed it. Whatever you feed Jupiter is what Jupiter will feed. But the Mercury retrograde sound, even though it's not in retrograde, it'll feel that way somewhat until it gets out of there on the 27th. And the sun also comes out on the 20th, when it'll start to slowly loosen up until that 27th. And so you've been in a whirlwind of your own self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. And do you have it? Do you not? How can I get it? What do I have to do? Why do I feel like I'm being pressured by you? Da 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 da. Going back and forth and back and forth. And this is all coming down to the character and the growth and the spirituality of where you're at. I'm just trying to run you through that in the best way that I can. And as you move into your third house, because the sun will be moving into your third house, which is your communication zone, which is also Virgo, after the 20th, when we have the equinox, that's going to take it from an emotional water state of mind to an explosive little bit of a word vomit, possibly, because the sun being in Aries is going to bring up that explosive firepower to feel like you're in your power and to stand in your power. But are you in your power, or are you acting out of defense? This is what I'm getting at, because you're going to want to acknowledge this over the next month, because you have to understand Chiron is also in Aries, even though it's your inner communication. So are you communicating honestly, deeply, truly with yourself and allowing that spiritual growth? Or are you just trying to be like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Yes, I got the message. Let's go. But you actually went through it too fast. So you guys are good at dissecting, but you kind of go overboard at dissecting. This is not dissecting the outer world, but dissecting the communication you have within yourself. And how are you treating yourself? Then understand how you are speaking outwardly. Because if you are treating yourself with the acceptance of your change, your spiritual growth, again, because like I said, this is a major, powerful spiritual growth. With Jupiter in your second house all year, you're definitely coming into new value of yourself, new power of yourself, new harnessing of yourself. And you're having to learn what parts of yourself you really like and are good with. Where is that bringing manifestation to you in positive ways versus where is it doing it in negative ways? And how are you communicating all of this with yourself so that it is secure and you're strong and you're coming into a security, not insecurity? You're overcoming that. And then how is it that you're communing outwardly? But it all starts with acknowledging what's going on inwardly, okay? You also have Pallas here, which is Athena, the warrior goddess, which is saying if you can slow down and think this through, what is going on inside of you, she is going to teach you, the wisdom of your own inner power by that communication, by allowing that spiritual connection to happen. because it's part of you. You can't lose it. It's part of you. As you come into your fourth house, you have Uranus here. Now, Uranus is not exactly the most powerful thing here in Taurus, but I've been saying this for a while. Uranus in Taurus is all about self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. But for you, it's in your fourth house, which is all about truly getting to the root about your inner emotional security, which then creates your self-worth, self-value, and self-esteem, bringing it all back to the very character and the person that you are, breathing it into life. So it's a very positive thing. You have the North Node here saying, let me show you where you've been neglecting, your inner emotional security, where you've been missing the mark. So between coming into liberation versus forcefulness, okay, and this is helping you to understand that river of waters that you're walking through, so to speak. The North Node will be here for 1 year and 1 year only, and then it will be gone, even though Uranus will be here for about 6 more years or 5 more years. So this is one specific year of making sure that you're coming into harnessing who you are, your power, your liberation, regaining all of who and what you are. So yes, this is in a form an ego death that you're going to be viewing all year, which is going to help you as long as you're being upfront and honest with yourself and you're truly communicating in the best ways of what does support you. As you move into the fifth house, because Spirit is saying that it is highly important for you to get in with your inner child, to get in with your inner creativity, to be able to express not just through thought and through words, but to be able to express through your art, through your actions, through your fun, through dance, through music, whatever. There's a part of your inner creative inner child that you need to be paying a very close attention to. The fifth house, I always call, it's our fun zone. It's our pursuit of pleasure. It's what makes us happy. What makes you tick? What makes you enjoy life? Why do you enjoy being here? What makes you giggle and have fun? What do you want to wake up for? This has a lot to do with that self-worth, self-value, and self-esteem, with the very character, with the very soulfulness of who and what you are. Because if you don't have time for that, if you don't have time to explore that and find out what it is that you enjoy and be able to take time enjoying what you enjoy, then what's the whole point of living? Okay? That fifth house is not just hobbies, it's not just dating, it's not just sex and romance, but it's your creative expression. Nobody can be you. So where are you not stepping up to the plate and being you? Where are you allowing any of everybody else's outer world to contradict the way you believe and feel about yourself? I say it like this because you have Sirius here, not the Sirius star, Sirius. Sirius is nurturing. She's teaching you how to nurture and take time and love to do the things you enjoy. But also, she's showing you where you're neglecting it, where you're not giving yourself that time, where you're not getting that creative expression. So, this isn't just throat chakra, it's throat and sacral. Sacral chakra. Like Spirit was saying, this is a balance that helps jumpstart the heart and the solar plexus, give it back the I am and feel good about it so that your heart wants to be. So this is asking you, where is that creative expression? What do you want to do? What makes you tick? What makes you enjoy life? And are you getting the time for it? Are you getting to explore it and do these things? Because it's very necessary for you to be able to do those things in order for you to grow into the spiritual growth and the ego depth that you're going through this year. It's necessary. Now, your eighth house, which is Virgo, is where the full moon is about to take place on the 20th. And let me jump back. It's not going to be getting along with your character, with who you are, with your personal identity. There's going to be parts of that that is definitely questioning who you are, what you're capable of, what you're willing to do. Remember, the Pisces is your second house, but it's also the universal 12th house: grief, sorrow, shame, blame, insecurities. So it's talking about where you're a little afraid of yourself, where there's parts of yourself that it's more comfortable to ask acceptance or belief, or should I do it this way? Could I do it that way? When you already know, inside of you. So stop asking, start being is what this is about. But this is going to say part of this is going to make you question that, but that's part of the growth right here. Now, as you come out of that and we go into the equinox, we move into the next part of the month and the beginning of next month. You got to remember that your 10th house has the south node here. This is everything you're really good at, but it's not necessarily good for you. And see, that made perfect sense because I haven't spoken about anybody's full moon. I went just through the chart. But for something told me I had to speak about your full moon. And the 10th house is the outer community. But it's not just the community or the authority of the outer world. It's the teams, the communities, the memberships that you're part of. And do they support that growth? Do they support you finding your inner shine? Do they support you working through your ego to discover who you are and what amazing things you're capable of, by allowing you to also fall on your face, get up and start all over again? Do they support you of that, or are they like, oh my God, and or are they just only want to use you in the direction where they want to use you, but don't want to hear you? Because that 10th house has a lot to do with being manipulated into doing what the 10th house wants for the outer authority and what the outer world needs, but not necessarily what you need from the outer world. And this is saying you're very comfortable in some areas because it's the south node. The south node is everything you're good at, but it's not good for you. And this is saying there's a part of your rebirthing, not only that you're afraid of, but that you don't believe in, that you don't trust in within yourself. And it's easier to keep, looking outwardly for the answers because looking inwardly is harder. And Scorpio is all about birth, death, and rebirth. So this, like I said, this whole year is like an ego death for you and a rebirth of who you are. It's a level of the lotus flower, of the lotus flower and growth. The lotus flower is, it starts in the mud, in the murk, the swamp, and it eventually grows up to where it can see there is an above and a below. But then finally it stretches to where it's not in the mud anymore. It's blooming in the light. This is going, stop looking to everybody else to tell you where the bloom is. Stretch for it yourself. You don't have to be in the swamp. You don't have to be in the middle land. It's time for you to come up. But you have to believe that you can actually understand and believe without everybody else's approval. Is really what I feel like a lot of this is for you over not just the month, but the year, because it's the South Node. Now, your 12th house is what jump-started all of this last month, because the energies were moving from the 12th house into your first house, and what was in your first house moved into your second house, and then so on. Because the only one that's really not got much movement going, you have Jupiter, which recently just came into Pisces. You have Mercury that's coming through. Chiron will be in Aries for a while, but everybody else pretty much is moving. Neptune doesn't move and Uranus doesn't move, but everybody else is moving. So most of this energy really started to come in and fester last month, and it was getting you in the jump start for this healing, for this new direction, for this new you. And you're going to continue to be acknowledging it. But this all really comes down to, can you trust in your own growth? Can you believe that you are just as capable as everybody else without needing the approval? Aquarius says you guys are all about, helping the outer world. But what you do have a problem with is helping yourself and believing in yourself. And this is one of those times where it's time to start growing out of that bad habit. I love you guys. Bye.